Let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Bienvenidos y buenas tardes a todos. We're in SANDAG's new boardroom. And before we get started, I'd like to ask everyone to please speak close to the microphone. We're still having some issues. Hi, good afternoon. This is a large room and the acoustics make it important to speak directly into the mic so everyone can hear clearly. With that, let's confirm quorum. So I'd like to ask our clerk, Francesca, to confirm if we have quorum.
Thank you, Chair. We do have a quorum. Absent today are the City of San Diego and Imperial County.
Perfect. Thank you. And also, can you please help us with the logistics for the meeting, please?
Yes, thank you. First, today's meeting will be broadcast simultaneously in English and Spanish, and I'll ask the interpreter to explain how that process works.
Good afternoon. Announcement from the interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon World and select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on Mute Original Audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenas tardes, aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación globo terráqueo y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. And to our interpreter, are there any questions from members regarding meeting procedures? Any questions from the public? Is that allowed?
Chair, we do have one member of the committee that's participating remotely today. Councilmember Wallace is joining us online. And so, Councilmember Wallace, I do just need to ask you a couple of questions before we can go ahead and proceed with your virtual participation. Can you just let us know briefly and without disclosing any medical information, the reason why you're participating remotely today?
Because I was in Sacramento at the City Leaders Summit and I'm on my way back. And I know I won't make it to San Diego in time.
Thank you very much. And could you just confirm for us that you're able to leave your camera on during the duration of the meeting?
Yes.
And is there anyone over the age of 18 with you at the moment? And if so, can you tell us their relationship to you?
Yes, my husband.
All right. And because Councilmember Wallace is participating remotely today, we do also need to take roll call votes for this meeting. And that's
Okay. We're good. We're going to miss your energy in person.
Thank you.
Now I would like to make a moment to acknowledge that we live and work on traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of tribal nations, including the Kumeyaay, Luiseño, Cupeño, and Coahuila peoples. Also, we share strong historical and cultural roots that unite us with all of our neighbors. I would like to invite Barona Band of Mission Indians Chairman and our Borders Committee Advisory Member, Raymond Welch, to share blessing for this first meeting in the new boardroom.
Mayaha. We thank you for this opportunity to come together and discuss issues affecting our communities, the transportation. We ask for your blessings upon this new meeting room. We pray for good words and for respect for one another. Tiatakai naep amayaha, yeahan ichpe.
Thank you. Now, please join me standing up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Moving on with the agenda, we're going into the first item on our agenda, non-agenda public comments. And I would like to keep the comments to 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. We do have 5 non-agenda public comments. We'll start with Catherine Rhodes, and then after Catherine will be allegedly Audra.
Hello, Catherine Rhodes. And so, for the Tijuana River Valley, if anyone met with Lee Zeldin, the head of the EPA, when he was here, please tell us how that meeting went and what you thought about it. And, was it positive? Are you going to get any action from him? So one thing is that the EPA Lee Zeldin or President Donald Trump can make the Tijuana River a Superfund site if they wanted without the multi-year process. And that would bring cash, free new cash into the area, which is good. Other positive reasons for EPA Superfund designation, the new non-local cash money for cleanup from both the federal government and Superfund site requires the state of California to pay 10% of the cost for the cleanup. Right now, Governor Newsom doesn't even want to declare the site an emergency. And because he refuses to make it an emergency, that's why the federal government can't have a state of emergency either. And that's why we can't have more money coming in because Governor Newsom is blocking us. So this will kind of jump over Governor Newsom so he can't do anything. And so Superfund designations allow the federal government to make polluters pay for the cleanup cost. Marco Rubio from the State Department can force the polluting maquiladoras to pay for the cleanup. And, 2026, the US-Mexico-Canada agreement is up for renewal, so they could actually put something in there. And my part, the EPA Superfund creates an online library and database. We didn't know about all the problems with the wastewater treatment plant because they hid the engineering reports from the news and from the public. And EPA would make all those documents public, and that's something I would like. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be allegedly Audra, followed by Andrea Ebbing.
So there's a cost to silence. There's a cost to people not speaking truths and being honest with reality. And the fact that for years you guys have been saying that the border is secure, at the cost of that, hundreds of thousands, and I would even speculate that it's probably closer to 1 million children that were trafficked across the border, who have been murdered, who are being raped right now, who are having their organs harvested, who are, just some kind of labor slave. So in the silence of this board, all of those things are taking place, and you are complicit in that because you chose to not acknowledge what was really actually taking place. And so you should be held accountable for these missing children. It's a business. They were trafficked. Children are being trafficked through our own government, through CPS, Child Welfare Services. And even in that, people being silent, you're just as complicit as the people that are engaging in it. Because problems perpetuate because nobody's willing to stand up and say something. Instead, let's just go through the motions, tell everybody the border is secure, let's continue to do business with Mexico. All while this is taking place on your watch. So the fact that you guys can sit here and act like what you're doing is great business, you need to think about all of those children whose lives have been endangered and or taken because of your actions, because of your silence, because of your complicit nature in it. So it would behoove you to course correct and start taking responsibility for what you have allowed to take place. We all have choices to make, and you chose to stay silent, and now children have suffered at the cost of your silence.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Andrea Ebbing, followed by Truth.
So my name is Andrea, and I actually wanted to follow up on a comment that Audra had made at the last meeting. I'm a 25-year resident of San Diego. I have worked in travel, tourism, hospitality, marketing for 20 years of executive leadership, driving $25 million into the city. And my ex is a county contracted rehab owner. He runs diversion programs with our criminal justice system. And as a result, he can get away with murder and child abduction, and anything that he does is covered by the kickbacks that he offers to the county and city as other pay. We have a serious problem right now. I have zero history of crime, violence, substance abuse, mental health issues, zero. And I was held in Las Colinas for 6 days by Summer Stephan after I was reporting my child abduction. Getting nowhere with it, a felony strangulation that took place, fentanyl theft by my ex, opioid distribution by the doctors involved in this body brokering program that's absolutely taking place in San Diego. Many of you probably received my emails, although we've never met. Here I am. Unfortunately, I had a $50,000 bond on a falsified failure to appear. And we have an 18-year-old shooter who killed a little 12-year-old boy in National City about 2 weeks ago, who got out on the same bond as me, who's never committed a crime. We have zero leadership in the district attorney's office. Felony crimes are going unpunished. She is catering to people that are paying her off, and as a result, the whole community is suffering. The only people she's prosecuting are innocent moms, as far as I've seen, and not violent felons like my ex and his accomplices. It's really unfortunate.
I think our next speaker will be Truth, who will be followed by Blair Beekman.
Carolina, I spotted a wild Jerry earlier. I'm not going to reveal where, though. I appreciate how the last agenda finally covered some of the other borders that exist. A broader perspective is required to understand the several different borders. I especially appreciated hearing finally from North County, but found it strange that Katie and Eric lacked any thoughts on the fact that an airport transit connection would not even benefit North County as it's currently planned. It kind of feels like North County is going to get the short end of the stick and they just don't care. But that's okay, because that overpriced Hassan left their project shouldn't even exist when there's already bus routes straight to the airport. Caroline also said about MTS, we need to have common sense. I think I've been saying that every single meeting for how long, and nothing's changed. It's actually a huge deficit. I do concur that Colleen has great energy and she's awesome for driving and still participating today. There was a lot of postponement of items last meeting, so either agendas need to have less on them or maybe the meeting day may not be working well. I personally do not like doing 2 meetings a day, because you got to remember, I don't get taxpayer funded food on this side of things. So I'd rather go to lunch after the BOD, which I did, but not come right back after rushing lunch that I paid for myself and earned. That should be a consideration when planning any committee meeting, that it's not overlapping another meeting, thereby disenfranchising public input, because I guarantee you most people would rather just go home. Now let's talk about Lee Zeldin's visit. He, Jim Desmond, and Senator Tim Sheehy seem to agree with me that Mexico's pollution is a national security threat. I actually said that in IB a couple weeks ago. But it's also a public safety issue and a borders issue. Hasn't been addressed very well so far by SANDAG. And there was a bunch of campaigners, including Joel, who never, ever spoke up before on the topic, but suddenly made it for a press conference and a roundtable, but there were no SANDAG reps. Why not? The positive, though, is that neither Newscom's little declaration or Steve Padilla's gutted SB 10 are going to be necessary for real solutions. IB now has help from the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker on this item will be Blair Beekman. You can go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for the meeting today. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm from San Diego. I'm sorry that this is about the third meeting now that the San Diego representative is not here. I hope she can eventually be here at these meetings. I think that you're doing some really important work. DRA is making some really important statements about child issues that we've been very lax in wanting to better address. That I think she's a one person wrecking crew. I don't know, one person. She's doing awesome to just make very clear how we can be talking about this issue in our future that we're not talking about openly and publicly enough. And good luck that we really, there's many ways to talk and work on it, and let's hope we can. I wanted to bring up for me, you know, this being a new administration, it's a really important time that they can be a bit strong with law enforcement, and we have to be really mindful of our data collection around immigration and border issues, and that really sensitive in our ARGIS collection, data collection, what we're doing. People in low-income neighborhoods and you know, people in neighborhoods are just nervous, you know, what is very possible at this time, and we have to really stick to our best policies and best practices that don't try to intrude upon people's rights and privacy. And good luck how we can be doing that. With that said, the earlier meeting today, the Board of Directors meeting, we talked about rail issues, and I'm really interested how that can be a future conversation where we talk more very specifically about environmental concerns. We can't just do double tracking fully all through the tracking without environmental concerns being more voiced. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That concludes the public commenters.
Thank you so much. And at this point on the agenda, and since this is a time for member comments, I'd like to take the opportunity to invite Robin Wapner, Acting Senior Director of Public Affairs and Internal Operations, to share some comments and updates. Robin, take it away.
Thank you, Chair. Mario Orso, our CEO, sends his regrets. He's not able to join us today. He's helping his family, but I'm happy to be here to share some updates on behalf of our CEO. And again, I'll echo the welcome to our new building. I know this is a Borders Committee first meeting at West, and so we're very happy to have you here. Since you last met, our team did travel with some of our board members, including Vice Chair Joe LaCava and others, to Washington, D.C. as part of the San Diego Chamber of Commerce's annual trip to Washington, D.C. as an opportunity to bring sort of this larger voice to our representatives and administration officials there to let them know what our priorities are, the projects that we're working on, and most importantly, how they can help us get all of this done to continue to serve the people of the San Diego region. Right before we went to D.C. and while there, we did receive good news that we are able to now move forward with our infra grant for the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. You may have seen the news on that in the last couple of weeks. So we've got the green light on the project. We're very excited, and we're mobilizing now internally to make sure we can meet all of the deadlines that are associated with that grant program. I will just flag with the new administration, obviously they're taking a close look at all of our grant agreements. And so there were some changes that we needed to make as part of that project to receive those funds. And one of those was the removal of EV parking as part of that project. So I just share that to let you know that things are continuing to evolve, and we may see some continued changes as we work through some of the federal funding agreements that we have with the government. While also in DC, we met with the Navy as well to talk about projects that we're partnering with our military on in the San Diego region. So we had some really good discussions there. And as mentioned by some of our public speakers today, after the chamber visit to DC, the US EPA Secretary came out to the San Diego region to talk about the Tijuana River Valley. SANDAG was not a part of that visit, so unfortunately I don't have any report outs, but hopefully others that were would be able to share any updates from that visit. That said, we shared with you at your last meeting that we have kicked off the work on our California-Baja border resiliency plan. We had our first project development team meeting on that, and we're anxious to bring an update to this committee in the next month or so to let you know what's going on with that project and what some of the next steps will be on that. I also wanted to acknowledge, you may have seen this update also in the news, that Chad McIntosh has been appointed as a new commissioner for the International Boundary and Water Commission. Chad previously served as the Assistant Administrator for International and Tribal Affairs at the US EPA. And so our assumption is that he's very familiar with what's going on here, and we're anxious to start working with him to see how we can continue to move those efforts forward. As far as project updates, I did want to highlight that we are continuing to move forward on many of the rapid routes that we presented to this committee on in your prior meetings. Right now, we are seeking public input for Rapid Route 640, and that would be the route that would serve San Isidro, Chula Vista, National City, and Barrio Logan. The public survey for that effort is open online through May 14th, so we'd appreciate any help you can give us in helping to share the word on that and get the public to be involved in that online survey effort. Since we're at the Borders Committee meeting, I did just want to make sure that you all are aware that we are actively working on setting up some board leadership meetings with our counterparts from some of our neighboring agencies talking about all of the borders. So we're working to meet up with SCAG. SCAG is our counterpart in the LA region. They represent all of the 6 counties that surround San Diego. We're also reaching out to the Riverside County Transportation Commission to reach with them, talk about some of our challenges along the I-15 corridor and the 78, and also reaching out to our colleagues with the Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association to have some in-person meetings to continue the dialogue and really enhance the collaboration that we have with all of our partners. I wanted to share an update on our toll operations and the transition to the next back office system. I think that we've shared that we have moved into the official testing phase. And so we're looking at the interface, data migration, user testing. In our most recent tests, we have seen that there are some additional work that needs to be done that could move back the go live date for that transition. And so we'll be keeping you updated on that. And at a minimum, we are already planning to bring an update to our board of directors, probably in the June timeframe, to give the latest and greatest on what's going on with that project. We've also brought on an annuitant to help us complete an organizational assessment of our toll operations center and to help, again, ensure the successful completion of that transition project. Lastly, I just wanted to flag that Bike Anywhere Day is coming up on May 15th in just a couple of weeks. Hopefully you're all able to participate in that event. The pit stop map is now live, and as a reminder, there are stops everywhere from Tijuana to Oceanside and everywhere in between. So we're really excited for that, and we look forward to celebrating with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin, for those important updates. And although I would love to bike, I do value my face too much. So I'll be waving at everyone that comes by one of the pit stops in Chula Vista. But today we have a great agenda addressing the 3 perspectives of our committee: our government-to-government relationship with the native tribes, our interregional border with the neighboring counties of Orange, Riverside, and Imperial, and an international border with Mexico. Now, I also would love to welcome Steve Castañeda, representing San Diego County Water Authority. Thank you for joining us, Steve. And any of our members have any comments that they would like to express? Seeing none. Moving forward, item number 2, this item is a consent item and it requires action to move forward. Would someone move the motion to approve the consent? Okay, moved by County of San Diego, second by Steve Goebel from East County. So
We do have public comment
Francesca?
on this item first.
Oh, we have public comment? Okay.
Thank you. First, I'll call up allegedly Audra, followed by Andrea Ebbing.
Just wondering why Chris is all the way at the end here. It feels kind of like he's being like kept out of the group. I don't know, is this like the cool side and then he has to sit down here? I mean, poor guy. You know what I mean? That's why it's like, let's join together and feel like we're united. Yeah, so I don't know what we're talking about, resiliency in Baja. But, you know, something needs to be done. You guys continue to want to engage with Mexico without keeping them accountable for the problems that are going on, because it doesn't matter what we do with the sewage on our end. If it's not kept on their end, it's going to be pointless for us to spend any money to pretend to mitigate the issues that we have at hand. And the unwillingness of you guys or anybody to just like make sure that happens. I mean, we'll sit here and have lawsuits against so many different things, but not Mexico. Nobody's willing to go the extra mile to make sure that you're not wasting our money when it's going to be put towards something that is supposed to mitigate the issue. I mean, but you guys love wasting our money. So, I mean, it's not going to be a concern of yours. I damn well bet that if it was your money out of your pocket, you'd go, I'm not doing that. Let's make sure that they're going to take care of their business. Otherwise, I'm going to be wasting my money. But when you look at it like it's monopoly money, because that's what you guys do here is you take monopoly money and spend it on different things, then you don't really take it seriously that these people are working very hard to provide you with the resources that you need to do all of the shenanigans that are going on, especially lying to people and saying the border's secure. How can you be trusted with our money if you're going to waste it like that? I mean, it's time people start like doing what's right. I mean, because at some point you're going to have to answer to all of the things that you guys are doing, and that's going to be real fun to watch. Because it'll be showing you guys groveling and, oh, well, I didn't know, or, oh, yeah, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
Our next speaker will be Andrea Ebbing, followed by Blair Beekman.
So I want to talk about, again, back to the body brokering rehab situation that's happening here in San Diego where, you know, a lot of people talk about Mexico being a threat to.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I did want to, we do need you to speak on the meeting minutes from the last meeting and be on topic for this item.
Yeah, it is. It's actually about protecting Mexico from the predatory behaviors of San Diego. When we're awarding people like Algernon Lundy, the fentanyl dealer that was just busted, City of San Diego beautifully holding an award, right? And Summer Stephan refused to prosecute, investigate, look at, indict fentanyl theft and opioid distribution from the rehab owners I'm talking about. 1 year and 4 months before fentanyl distribution in one neighborhood in Tijuana increased by 333%. Highest Mexico has ever seen, not on the border of Texas, not on the border of Arizona, right here on the border of San Diego. The highest increase in fentanyl distribution. Well, guess what? One of the doctors involved that I'm talking about has a pill mill that he was operating in San Diego, in which the patients of rehab facilities and homeless addicts would come and pick up prescriptions in dead people and prisoners' names. His name is Dr. Augusto Salerno. Google him, DEA bust. He's in jail right now, but only for 18 months. And that was after he had a 5-hour SWAT standoff naked with a gun to his wife's head on a cocaine bender. That's true. Okay, Google. Patients and homeless people will come and pick up the scripts, fill them, and then distribute them to pharmacies in TJ. This is predatory behavior coming from San Diego, from our officials who are fully aware and choose not to investigate this. The rehab owner gets a Citizen of Courage award from our DA, just like Algernon Lundy just recently did. Mayor Todd Gloria, Casa de Luz, is run by a pharmacy owner, Carl Tan. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker will be Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman to speak 2 meeting minute items about interregional transit connections from last meeting and Orange County Lausanne Rail Corridor. Interregional transit connections could be a good way to talk about the previous speaker's items. What are we going to do with our transit issues when they connect to these different places? And it's public safety is important and transit is important. Good luck how we're addressing all of these items. With Orange County Lausanne Rail Corridor issues, very much of a thank you that you guys are having these sort of discussions today and last meeting with different counties to talk about the future of freight use, passenger use, high-speed rail, and military. I mean, I hope we're making a real important effort to compartmentalize each section of what the future of rail will be in San Diego and really learn that I feel that the future of freight rail has to come through the East County side. They were talking today at BOD about the double tracking issues in the Lausanne corridor when we should be thinking of as the lightest footprint as possible, I feel, for the lagoons, for the sake of the lagoons, and for the sake of people's homes, the future of homes in Del Mar. There's really important ways to address there's serious environmental concerns of so much freight traveling through you know, the lagoon and populated areas that we're not addressing that here. And I'm really worried about that. And we have to make a more open, concerted effort. SANDAG staff is really pushing the double track all throughout the system when we could have double tracks just for a little part for stoppage issues and not a full length system. Why is SANDAG so hard pushing on this? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That concludes the public commenters.
At this moment, does any committee members have any comments? Seeing none, clerk, can you please call the vote?
Thank you. For South County, Chair Chavez.
Yes.
For East County, Councilmember Goebel.
Yes.
The City of San Diego is absent. For the County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson. Imperial County is absent. For North County Coastal, Vice Chair Joyce.
Yes.
And for North County Inland, Deputy Mayor Melendez. That motion passes unanimously with those members present.
Thank you. And moving on, item number 3, I'd like to welcome Cecily. Is that correct? Did I pronounce your name right? Cecily Taylor and Mimi Murasaki from SANDAG, and again, Chairman Welch, who will join in presenting this item. Before handing it over, I'd like to emphasize that Native communities play a vital role in our region. It is through collaboration that we can learn from one another and advance the well-being of all who live here. Cecily, please go ahead. We are listening.
Thank you very much. So we're excited to be here today to share an update on the 2025 regional plan. The Borders Committee did participate in a joint policy advisory committee session that we held in late February that really went into a lot more detail about what the regional plan is, some of the latest updates as we get close to releasing the draft. And so instead of recapping all of that, we'll really focus today on how the coordination that we've done with our tribal partners has influenced the regional plan. And again, Chairman Welch, thank you so much for joining us to share some words as we speak about this. So I won't go through all of the context of the regional plan, but I will recap that the regional plan is one of the most important things that we do here at SANDAG. It's a mandate to us as the region's metropolitan planning organization and the regional transportation planning agency that we create this plan that sets the long-term vision for our region. And we're required to update this every 4 years. There are a lot of different requirements that we have to satisfy as part of the plan. That's really important for us to be eligible to receive a lot of state and federal funding. And it's not just SANDAG being eligible to receive those funds, but all of our partner agencies within the region. And one of those requirements actually is that we consult with our tribal nations within the region and make sure that we are meeting their needs as part of the plan. And all of that work, hearing from the different needs throughout the region, meeting those state and federal requirements all culminates in the list of projects, policies, and programs that we propose in the plan to meet our region's needs for the next 20+ years. The regional plan also needs to have a financial plan component where we identify how we plan to fund that collection of investments. So all of the outreach that we've done over the last 2.5 years, all of the analysis and modeling testing that we've done has resulted in this set of transportation projects for the region. It's a very busy map, but this is just a quick snapshot of all of the investments we're making throughout San Diego County. At a high level, the solid lines are those projects that we are identifying to be implemented by 2035, and anything dashed is proposed to be implemented in the later years between 2036 and 2050. We don't do detailed years of when each project would be online, but it's just meant to, at a high level, help establish that vision and use those 2 kind of snapshot years. So we'll, in a little bit, we'll get into more detail of some of the projects in the rural area that help connect to the tribal nations. But I'll also mention that there are a lot more investments that aren't on the map. There are technology investments on highways throughout the region, and there are also investments in existing transit, the existing transit system. So every single rural route that we have today will run more days during the week and have more trips in each day. With that, I will pass it to Chairman Welch to share a bit more about the consultation process and how that's fed into that set of regional plan projects.
Elka. Our region is home to 18 Native American reservations, represented by 17 tribal governments, the most of any county in the United States. A government-to-government relationship was formalized in 2007 between the Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association and SANDAG, which established tribal advisory roles on the board of directors and committees, including this one. Quarterly tribal working group meetings and monthly task force meetings are held between SANDAG and tribal leaders and staff to share updates on SANDAG projects and the SCTCA, and sometimes individual tribes will collaborate on a joint grant applications to implement key efforts. Tribal leaders also take part in special meetings that bring SANDAG and tribal leaders together, like the Tribal Summit with our board of directors and the Tribal Symposium with this Borders Committee. These meetings provide a forum to discuss both SANDAG and tribal ongoing efforts, including the regional plan. The latest Tribal Symposium was held in November 2023, and a Tribal Summit was held just this last June. Both included discussions of the regional plan and what tribal priorities should be reflected there. SANDAG staff also met individually with tribes last spring to get into details of the projects and policies in the plan. I strongly encourage face-to-face discussions with tribal leaders as this helps build relationships in our efforts. Verona firmly believes in building relationships, and face-to-face meetings are key to that. I encourage SANDAG board to participate in the meeting with tribal leaders and not just send staff. Oftentimes staff gets the brunt of the frustration of tribal leaders.
Thank you for sharing that. I also want to highlight before moving on that the outreach that we do here at SANDAG with our tribal partners goes beyond just the regional plan. There's a lot of other efforts that we collaborate on. So to share a few recent ones, there was a tribal grant program that was funded through SANDAG through the Regional Early Action Planning Grant, or REAP 2.0. And that allocation provided up to $4.4 million to tribes to advance housing on or near tribal reservations. SANDAG and SCTCA are working on that jointly, and so far 8 tribes have been awarded funds. Another example is that SANDAG and SCTCA continue to work on a jointly awarded grant of nearly $500,000, and that's to improve tribal internet services provided through the Tribal Digital Village. And we're also working on a case study with the Viejas Band of Kumeyaay Indians to explore the potential of advanced air mobility to better connect our region's tribal and rural areas. So through our regional plan consultation and through all of the collaboration we do, we're really trying to ensure alignment between what the tribes have identified as their priorities and the efforts that we're making here at SANDAG. Now I'll pass it back to Chairman Welch to share some of the recurring themes that we heard from tribal leaders through this consultation.
Specifically, some of the recurring themes include the importance of safety. Safety is a top priority for many tribal reservations. As all the region's tribal nations are in rural parts of the county, there are fewer roads to access reservations. Most of us have one way in and one way out, and are pretty maintained roads. We often deal with climate-related incidents like fires, snow, strong winds, and power shutoffs. Electrification is another very important for tribal nations. Tribes are closely following electrification efforts throughout the state and nationally are looking for renewable energy projects on reservations, including increasing access to charging stations for electric vehicles. Flexible fleets opportunities for tribes. Our communities have less public transportation options than other parts of the region. Our flexible fleets present opportunities for tribes that get help to tribal members where they need to go without using a car. Tribal leaders are interested in advancing projects in the Intra-Regional Transportation Strategy, or ITTS. SCTCA member tribes and SANDAG work together to develop the ITTS. This collaborative effort evaluated existing conditions on rural highways and outlined transportation needs for the tribes. The ITTS identifies the key transportation priorities for each of the tribal nations in the region and includes projects, evaluation criteria, cost estimates, potential partners, and funding opportunities when available. It was first completed in 2018 and updated in 2021. Based on additional conversation that took place for developing a 2021 regional plan, it needs to be revisited.
Thank you. And when we hear that important feedback, as we were developing the regional plan, we tried to address each of these themes. So for safety, our regional plan includes a policy on Vision Zero that's meant to help improve safety throughout the region. We also have those technology investments I mentioned on our highways, including rural corridors, and those can help improve safety and efficiency on those highways. And we have a handful of specific capital projects as well, some of which are even already underway, such as the interchange improvements at I-8 West and Willows Road, and improvements to SR 76 that have been identified as really high priorities for tribal nations. SANDAG also collaborated with the La Jolla Band of Luiseno Indians on developing their own Vision Zero plan. So again, continuing to collaborate beyond just on the regional plan. For electrification, the regional plan will include various programs to implement more infrastructure for electric vehicle charging. These are efforts that we already have underway, and so the regional plan is just meant to document that we're continuing to commit to those investments. There's been a lot of interest in flexible fleets as well. We do have several rural microtransit services identified in the plan, including one that will connect Paula with the Paula Mesa and Fallbrook communities. We also have a grant program that'll be opening up this summer, and tribes will be eligible to apply, where SANDAG will partner with our local agencies in order to implement more of these flexible fleet services that we know are of so much interest. And we, of course, recognize the importance of the intra-regional tribal transportation strategy. It was a critical resource for us as we started developing the regional plan. We have also applied for Caltrans planning grant funds to take some of those plans to the next step and study some key rural corridors and what feasible projects are possible to move forward. It'll include developing a tangible action plan for getting those improvements in place. And we'll continue to leverage all of those channels for collaboration that we mentioned as part of developing that plan if the funds are awarded. So that's a bit of a preview of future work that's coming related to the ITTS, but with that, I'll pass it to Mimi, and she'll share a little bit more detail about how the ITTS projects specifically fed into the draft regional plan.
Great, thank you, Cecily. So this is a table of all of the ITTS projects that are currently in our draft 2025 regional plan. And if you have not seen the full draft 2025 regional plan yet, that's something I'll get to at the end in terms of the timeline. So this is a preview. These projects, I'll walk through and highlight a few of them and also go through some maps as well to talk through, because there's a lot of lines here, and Cecily shared that overall regional map too. So we'll break that down into bite-sized pieces. So, but again, these projects represent all of the comments and concerns and themes that we've heard from our tribal governments. So these first two projects highlighted in peach are the capital projects from the Tribal Early Action Capital Project List, which was identified by the Tribal Transportation Working Group through our consultation process. These projects continue to be a priority for our draft plan, so they will also continue to be in this 2035 phase year. These two projects in pink were moved from the 2050 timeline that was in the 2021 regional plan. It was moved up to the 2035 timeline. So earlier implementation, because again, of the priorities that we've heard from the tribal governments. And more specifically, one of the projects we've heard from Paula that the SR 76 to Paula Mission Road intersection improvements were needed now. And then the other one is the I-8 at East Willows Road project. And Cecily just mentioned the I-8 at West Willows Road. So lining up those two projects within the same phase year. A few other projects to highlight in green are new inclusions from the 2025 regional plan. So they weren't in the 2021 regional plan, but this is again in alignment with the ITTS and was the top priority for the tribe. So we've pulled that from the ITTS into our draft plan. Looking a little closer in the North County inland area, I'm going to walk through the corridors and some high-level projects that we're planning. So starting in the SR 67 corridor near Ramona, we have the SR 67 Highway Improvements Project that's looking at alternatives for evacuation events. Caltrans is leading that project and is currently in the environmental phase. We've also identified a microtransit and neighborhood electric vehicle, or NEV, service area in the downtown Ramona community, along with the new bus rapid transit route that we've started studying. Along SR 79, there are safety improvements that include shoulder widening and intersection improvements. And there are also several safety and operational improvement projects along SR 76, which include roadway straightening, shoulder widenings, and intersection improvements. Bike lanes will also be added between the Paula western boundary to the Paula eastern boundary. We have some projects identified in the South County inland area as well, also related to safety and operational improvements, such as intersection improvements, shoulder widening, and straightenings. I'd also like to note that our team, our SANDAG staff is kicking off the SR 94 Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan process, which includes the Hamul area. So that is another upcoming project opportunity for community members to share ideas more specific to the Hamul area and that SR 94 corridor. Next steps for the regional plan. So we're getting close to the finish line. We need to bring the board a final plan and environmental impact report by the end of this year. In order to meet that deadline, there's several major milestones coming down the pipeline, one being releasing the draft plan, which will likely be next month, the end of the month. Shortly thereafter, the EIR will be released in early summer. And after the public comment period ends, we will address comments, make any final adjustments to the plan so that we can bring the final plan and EIR to the board by the end of the year for adoption and ultimately submit to the state and federal government for their review and approval. And with that, that is our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions.
First, I want to be mindful and appreciative of all the hard work doing this presentation. As well, I think we should go first to public comment, right? Before we proceed.
Thank you, Chair.
Francesca.
We have 5 public comments on this item. We'll start with allegedly Audra, then go to Andrea Ebbing.
Oh, as a native, it's interesting to see what other natives do, and like, you don't even get a vote on the board. It's insulting, don't you think, to like do all this work and then not even really, I mean, it's kind of having a say, but at the end of the day, not really. So it's really sad to see that that's something that continues, and it's just like, part of the thing too is like getting in bed with the federal government who took our land and allowing them to come onto reservations for money. And I just feel like our ancestors would be rolling over in their graves to see the things that are taking place, especially when we, you know, the land is where it's at. It's not money, because money comes and goes, it can burn, but it's the land that matters. And when we're talking about things like electrifying stuff and the minerals that have to be extracted from the earth in order to do that is like detrimental to the earth itself. And so it's like we're doing all of these things under the guise of it providing something that's going to be better. But in reality, I mean, there's children that are being used to mine for these minerals as well. And, you know, there's frequencies and things that come off of these electric charging stations that are detrimental to your body. And I just feel like nobody wants to acknowledge these things. They want to act like these are going to better our lives, when in reality, it's not true. We're being sold a lie continually. And I would just hope that, you know, natives would be the one to kind of hold the ground and stand firm and say, we're not going to allow this to take place. But I feel like when it's like a pay to play kind of world, you know, you let them in, but once you give them an inch, they take a mile. And just the fact that there is no say and you don't have a vote, I don't know, it's just an insult, I feel like, to even ask you to be here and make decisions.
I think our next speaker is Andrea Ebbing, will be followed by Truth.
Thank you. So whatever the decision is today and however we decide to build out those roadways, I think it's really important to monitor what happens on those roadways because in Arizona, there is a $1 billion addiction treatment scam taking place in which Native Americans are being targeted and picked up at gas stations, flea markets, sides of the road, kidnapped, and taken to facilities 300 miles away. They're given drugs and alcohol on the way to those facilities, and then they're used as Medicaid bait for these owners, and there are massive kickbacks involved to the government. And as part of the crackdown that's taken place as a result of 40 Native American deaths, completely preventable, many of which were a result of being recycled through these programs over and over again, given drugs and alcohol to stay in the programs so that they can get extra money for these patients to stay, not actually treating them. They're just sucking them dry and then killing them. It should be said that our Conti contracted rehab owner and his associates, who is absolutely involved in the substance abuse assessment unit through the public defender's office, Prop 36 through Summer Stephan's office, and the PLEADS program through Mara Elliott's office. And part of the reason why Luke Bergman stepped down from his role as he was an architect of this program, diversion programs for addiction treatment. His facility is contracted here in San Diego, but the AHCCCS has terminated him as a provider, as being involved in Native American targeting for addiction treatment for Medicaid kickbacks. Attorney General Chris Meyer says that what took place in Arizona and could very easily take place here in San Diego is a stunning failure of the government. And I would just hope that we look out for our Native Americans here in San Diego. Thanks.
Our next speaker will be Truth, followed by Catherine Rhodes.
If the transportation system is supposed to develop through 2050, I've yet to see much progress other than a bunch of multi-million-dollar slime green bike lanes that nobody uses. If only the 67 or the 78 was treated with the same kind of investment or priority, especially since people have actually died on those roads. There's also allegedly been a strong working relationship with tribal nations. Well, what has actually been achieved? Are there measurements of progress? Has anything been done about Dead Man's Curve that we learned about Apollo? Bike lanes at Apollo sound just as usable as bike lanes on Main Street in El Cajon. AK 100-degree temperatures coming soon. Nobody's gonna bike. All the other projects suggested, including shoulder widenings and the straightening of dangerous roads like the 67 and the 76, I would hope those would happen as soon as possible. But SANDAG doesn't have a good reputation of keeping tax dollar-funded obligations. SANDAG should be readjusting the priorities from wasted empty bike lanes to evacuation routes. LA's fiasco and corruption should be enough of a reason to never forget. How will rural transit services be balanced with financial realities? MTS and NCTD are already in major deficits. Where would this mystery money come from other than more taxes? How much would it cost? Exactly, there's no details. And would anybody be willing to take a 3 or 4 hour bus ride to get to as far as this building? The regional plan is a scam, full of managed toll lanes and more empty buses. Tribal neighbor East County has almost no projects in the plan. And there's zero real solutions for traffic or safety, only obstacles for drivers to impede their free travel, or maybe charge them to travel. So Indians are going to, really, if you can figure this out, you're going to expect much of the same that we get, a whole lot of nothing. I did like the tribal symposium that happened apparently 1.5 years ago. And you know why? It was because it was a lot less SANDAG and a little more Indian in nature. It was more free, more open, more pretty good conversations, complete opposite of SANDAG. If only they had more of a say at the table, maybe projects could actually get done. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Catherine Rhodes, followed by Blair Beekman.
Hello, Catherine Rhodes, and thank you for doing something for the tribal nations. But what I want to talk about mainly is this report. I can't figure out a lot of things. And then I also want to mention, there's no information on items 4 or 5, so I don't know if I want to talk about them because I have no clue what it is. Like one thing is, what is ITTS? No clue. What does it mean? Maybe if you could actually spell it out and then put ITTS in, things so we know what it is. There's 19 projects, 13 of them by 2035, 6 of them by 2050, but you didn't really tell us what costs they are. And then, and then you talk about flexible fleet, but when you have it on page 27, you don't have anything about flexible fleet on your table. And then you did talk about housing grants, but there's no information here in your report about housing grants, so I have no clue. It would have been nice if you put it in your report here. And then also on page 27, you have these projects, but I don't see, and there's a map, but it doesn't have like a number like 1, 2, or 3 or whatever number it is. So I can't see these projects on the map. And so it is on another map, but just on page 27. I just kind of wanted to see something so I understood it. So when I read this, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So please next time do better so that I can have more of a input, and I would kind of know what's going on. And then also, exactly how much, you talk about flexible fleets, but it's not on your table. And how much cost are all these going to do to actually help the tribes?
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our final speaker will be Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks a lot for this item. Nice to hear. I think we all can have a lot of hope in what this will be developing. It was a really good tribal summit last year. It was a good beginning. People like the truth and DRA, they're asking why can't, these tribal groups have more of a voice and a vote in SANDAG now? How long will this process be of this introductory process of really getting to work more closely together finally? Good luck in these efforts to do that. I'm really big on tech accountability, and you guys are working together on Vision Zero projects, so I hope that tech accountability is a part of this equation, because, man, it does amazingly good work. It is about participation, community participation, and bringing that to tribal areas. It invites the everyday people of tribal areas to be involved and to get them involved. And I think that's interesting and hopeful. And I think it has nothing but a good future in how to help address tribal issues. And I wish I could know how to say it better and work with it better. But I can, as you're working with these Vision Zero things, man, it's just seeing, I would like to attend some of these meetings in the future and offer what is really possible with tech accountability and what the community's part in that is and what that future means. That's just an astounding subject to consider, I feel. So good luck in the efforts and working on it. And I think I had more to say, but that should cover myself pretty much for now. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you. And before I open it up to the member comments, I'm just going to say really quickly that ITTS is Interregional Tribal Transportation Strategy. And I want to thank Chairman Welch and our SANDAG staff for their work facilitating these important conversations for the report shared today. I want our Borders Committee to become very vocal on representing all the needs and all the necessities in our Borders Committee, and be mindful that it's not just the border crossings that we represent or that we talk about, right? We need to talk about the representation of tribal nations, military, and neighboring counties. And I want to invite Raymond Welch to come back and do another presentation and open a discussion in the involvement of the tribal nations with us and the board of directors. And I will be reporting back this important presentation to in our next board meeting. And thank you for that. And I will opening up to North County.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the reminder on that acronym. And I appreciate the opportunity to hear from tribal representatives, and I appreciate what Robin shared earlier about interagency communication in general, right? Many borders that we communicate with. And I want to say thank you, Chairman Welsh, for your work on this. And where I represent in North County, the border between North County and tribal lands is connected. And I appreciate this process to integrate tribal communities into the plan here at SANDAG. And I think we have a lot of work to do in order to, really make sure everyone's voice is heard. I totally understand that tribal communities, like communities in North County, are looking for more connectivity, right? But not just connectivity of Indians to San Diego, but connectivity between our entire communities. And that safety piece really struck out to me because I know that my community struggles with that, and that there are health and safety implications to the isolation that tribal communities are experiencing. So I just wanted to raise that up and to say that I appreciate that tribal communities are being integrated into this plan. Thanks.
Any additional comments from the board? Vice Chair?
Thank you, staff. I appreciate the update. Chairman Welsh, I just want to let you know, I heard you loud and clear. Decision makers need to be in those meetings to facilitate authentic communication, and hope we can do better. Thank you.
We're going to make it a priority of this board to do better. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing more involvement and attending these issues. The roads security is the primary concern, and we need to move forward and have more discussions to come to the board of directors and propose efficient, holistic solutions that we can incorporate. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on to our next item. We have item number 4. And now I'd like to thank our next presenter, Chris Gray, who is the Deputy Executive Director of the Western Riverside Council of Governments, or WRCOG, for joining us and sharing an overview of planning efforts currently underway. As you may recall, at our March meeting, staff presented plans for a potential public transit route between San Diego and Riverside. We have a strong and active relationship with Riverside, so I'm sure this presentation will be of great interest. Chris, the floor is yours, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, members of the board, SANDAG staff, and public members in attendance. As you indicated, I'm the WRCOG's Deputy Executive Director, and I want to first thank Hector for reaching out to WRCOG to come down and do a presentation on some of the work that we're doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the studies we've done, also provide an introduction on WRCOG, talk a little bit about myself. So if you didn't know, the Western Riverside COG is one of the 2 COGs for Riverside County. We cover 18 cities, and we have 2 water districts as members, as well as the unincorporated county regions. The WRCOG region has about 2 million people, 600,000 dwelling units, and 800,000 employees. WRCOG, like many regional governments, we operate a variety of programs, transportation, planning. We also offer programs in energy and also environment as well. My background is I have roughly 30 years experience in the field. I spent 20 years as a consultant, and I've been at WRCOG for the past 10 years. And I also have been a resident in Riverside County for 20 years. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the recent economic studies we've done. We're present with you some demographic data, talking about some travel behavior studies, also some origin destination studies, and provide some closing comments. And so one of the items I like to share with our member agencies is there's a lot of good things about Western Riverside County. Unfortunately, from a population perspective, we're the second largest. The Riverside San Bernardino MSA is the second largest MSA in California, next to LA, Orange County, and it's now larger than the Bay Area. So there's roughly 4.5 million people in Riverside and San Diego County. The problem is that when we look at our income and economic activity, we rank towards the bottom. So for example, out of the 25 regional regions in California, our income is 19th. Out of the 387 regions and the defined regions in the state, in the country, we're 277th. And part of the reason why is we have a deficit of jobs. Many of the jobs we do have are in the retail, hospitality services. We have a deficit in terms of professional services and a number of the other fields. But one statistic that we've discovered is we have 3 employed residents for every 2 jobs in the county. And because of that, we have this. So every year, on your average day, they said we have roughly 800,000 employees. 500,000 of our employed residents leave to go get jobs somewhere else, including San Diego County. We're also importing 300,000 people. So what this shows is there's a lot of travel in between regions. Even a county that has a deficit in terms of has more employed residents than jobs is still importing jobs. And San Diego is much the same way. You're both importing jobs from locations such as Orange County, Riverside, other places like that, and then also exporting jobs. So the message here is that we are all one large region. Ultimately, to a person who's working and living here, the boundaries don't matter. They will travel where the job goes. They will work where they want to work, and they'll live where they want to live. And so this just is that information in tabular form. And we'll say out of Southern California, San Diego has the highest rate of residents who work in the county, and then also jobs held by the county. It's much higher than us. Riverside, San Diego, Orange County have very similar numbers. And so that's on the economic side. We also do at WCOG do a lot of demographic research. And obviously Riverside County has been growing. This is what people think Riverside County does. It's grow, grow, grow. We're adding people all the time. But what we noticed is there's a lot of year-to-year variability, and our rate of growth has been slowing. So at some point, previous times in the early 2000s, we might have been growing 5 or 6% a year. Now it's 1%. During COVID, we went negative, but our growth rate is slowing significantly. And what we've noticed too is growth rate is not even. We have some communities that are growing very quickly. If anyone's been to up the 215, you might have seen Menifee. That's growing very quickly. Some of our other cities are some of the fastest growing in California. Others not so much. And part of what's driving this is our birth rate has gone down. So since 2008, our countywide birth rate has decreased every year. It continues to decrease, and but this is not a Riverside. This is a California, United States, international problem. And because of declining birth rates, what's driving our population growth, the population growth we have, is people who are coming from mainly other parts of California. So the 3 largest, let's say, origins of people moving to Riverside County are LA, Orange, and San Diego County. There are people who are coming from other parts of the country, and typically they're higher cost of living areas. So for example, you might see Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Miami-Dade County, Florida, some parts of Texas and some parts of the Northeast. But almost roughly half of our population growth are those California migrants. And why are they coming here? Oftentimes it's cost of living, but there's other reasons as well. But we as a county also have people, we're not just having people come in, we have people leaving. And when people leave, they're going to places like, for example, Kern County, San Luis Obispo County, but also Phoenix, Arizona, and Las Vegas, Nevada. And typically when they're leaving Riverside County, they're leaving for an area with a lower cost of living. So we see people moving from higher cost of living to lower cost of living areas. But we also have found some interesting trends in terms of housing. And so there's also an impression that we're building housing, we're building houses all the time. And actually our rate of housing production has been relatively steady for the last 6 to 7 years. And what appears to be happening in our minds is there's not a strong correlation between our cities that are growing and the cities that are adding housing, which again is a change of demographics. So in some cases, cities are growing, they're building houses, but the people moving into those houses maybe don't have as large families, or they might be living by themselves. And what's really happening is, and this is an important lesson for the state, is almost all of our development is done by large companies. 4 out of the 500, 4 companies on the Fortune 500 are home builders, and 3 of those 4 do business in Riverside County. Almost all the large home builders we see, the Pulte's, Lennar's, D.R. Horton's, TriPoints, et cetera, they're all publicly traded. And at least 95% of all of our new homes are being built by these large companies, which means they build a number of homes they know they'll sell. So even in Riverside County, where there's this perception that we're growing, we're building, there's actually caps on that. And part of the reason why our cost of living, though it's not as high as San Diego, is increasing, is we have a development community that is essentially metering the supply. So to switch gears a little bit, we do regular travel surveys of our members. What you'll notice is San Diego County generally attracts about 1 to 2% of our total trips. That may not seem like a lot, except for a region like ours, we might have 10 million total daily trips. So that's at least 200,000 people a day, cars a day driving to and from San Diego County. You know that if you've seen the freeway, the I-15. And then we've been asked at various times to take some deep dives on some topics. For example, for the I-15 through South Riverside County, where are the people coming from? Where are they going to? Well, they're coming from all over the WCOG region. It's not just Murrieta, Temecula. It's places like Riverside, Eastvale, Jurupa Valley. And they're not just going to Oceanside, Carlsbad. They're going, in many cases, all the way to San Diego. So we have people on the I-15 that's going south through our county who might be on the road for 2.5, sometimes 3 hours a day. And so the perception has been that those are all work trips. Like, who would drive the 15 south if they're not working? Well, a lot of people. We have students going to Cal State San Marcos. We also have people working at some of the large employers here. But we also have people coming down here for healthcare. And so if in many cases, if you want to see a specialist or you want to see a top tier doctor, you're going to come to San Diego because of a number of healthcare facilities you have. And then also, it's important to note, so the green bar are trips that are not work trips. These are trips that don't start at a home or end at a home. So these are things like deliveries. This is truck traffic. Someone, let's say, going from a work office for another to another, let's say, commercial for a meeting or some kind of visit. So these are important commercial corridor. The 15 is also an important commercial corridor as well. And then you have large employers down here, for example, Camp Pendleton. And so Camp Pendleton's a regional draw. And so we were curious how many of our trips come from, how many trips from Riverside County go to Camp Pendleton. In terms of total number of trips going to Camp Pendleton, it's relatively small. But we have a group of people that every day are leaving Riverside County, places like Temecula, Murrieta, Menifee, and driving to Camp Pendleton. And so what we have learned is, and we expect this to continue, a lot of our population growth is caused by these people from other parts of California, particularly Southern California, relocating to Riverside County. And when we talk to the people who are moving to Riverside County, they're not just coming because it's affordable housing. They're coming for a lot of reasons. One recent behavior we have seen is there are people who, let's say their family grew up in San Diego, it's an older couple, their kids have moved out, and when their kids move out, they can only afford a home in Riverside County, so they move to Riverside County. Well, now they're empty nesters. Well, guess what? They want to live closer to their kids. So they sell their home, they then buy a home in Riverside County, and they're able to be closer to their kids. So for them, where they work is not the most important place in terms of where they locate. And so over time, what we have heard is the strategy is, well, we just need to add more housing in San Diego County. That'll solve the commute issue. That's not likely to occur. Unless San Diego County starts building houses similar to the ones in our region at the same price point, people are going to continue to move to the WCOG region. It's also not reasonable to expect all of the employers in San Diego County, because some of their employees, but not all of them, or not a majority of them, are going to all of a sudden relocate to Riverside County. That's just not going to happen. And so, and even if that were to happen, That still doesn't fix the congestion on the 15. Why? Because of all of those other trips that are there, those commercial trips, people going to other locations besides work. And then when we look at where our finally, where are those people going? Camp Pendleton, Cal State San Marcos, UCSD, downtown San Diego. Those jobs are not one to move. So what I wanted to say in closing is that when you look at Southern California, particularly Riverside, San Diego County, we all need each other. Many of your businesses employ our residents work in your businesses. We have people shopping, living in one county, shopping in another, people traveling for a variety of reasons. And because of this is going to continue for the foreseeable future. We don't see this dynamic changing. And so therefore, it's critical for our county, particularly our region and your county, to be having regular discussions, regular coordination. And I believe that will help. That will be critical for allowing our residents and your businesses to address their mobility needs in the future. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I appreciate your time and driving down all the way over here from,
Yes.
But I do want to open it up for public comment first, Francesca.
Thank you, Chair. We have 5 public comments on this item. We'll start with Truth and then go to Blair Beekman.
Chris, boundaries do matter when it comes to who has lower taxes. Why is a school board member on Riverside's COG? That's very strange. Your bio, Chris, says you have land use and transportation planning experience at the international level. Where is that? The Socialist United Nations should be transparent. There's travel behavior studies and origin destination studies. Was consent given for those studies? Or is this unlawful data theft from those whose cars are passing ALPR spy cameras? Or data theft from people's phones purchased from nefarious phone companies, as I heard SANDAG once admit? Or data theft from those of lower income who must rely on public transit and whose payment gives away their locations? What matters to San Diego County is that daily inflow, outflow, because we know tons of traffic is coming into this county because people are living in Riverside County due to more realistic housing and land prices. I almost had to move there. That means San Diego has a floating population that should be just as important as those floating from the foreign country of Mexico. Yet San Diego has been silent about solving the traffic and life issues that arise from such a long travel time. All we've heard is VMT caps on people's lives that would only push more people to Mexico. I'd love to see a single family housing production chart for San Diego County. 95% of the home builders being big corporate developers isn't surprising because California has made it where only the rich can afford to build a house. Let's be honest, the 15 needs to be expanded to relieve congestion. I wish the declining birth rate chart would also show the change since 1982. I love the population rate growth chart. It accurately reflects just how many fled California in 2020 and beyond to the free states. Totalitarian policies equal totalitarian lifestyles that nobody in their right mind wants to live in a place like this. So I'm going to recommend the dissolution of Western Riverside's Council of Governments, but don't worry, equity, I recommend the same for San Diego County. Nobody elected these people to be part of a COG conspiracy to usurp our Republican form of government. Nobody thought they were going to hear that today, but that's what you came down from Riverside to hear. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Blair Beekman, followed by allegedly Audra.
Hi, thank you. Got my thing on here. We'll turn down. Okay, with 155 remaining. Hi, thank you. What I was interested in this item was a good report. Really needed to hear it. Thank you. I'm interested in what is the future of freight and high-speed rail through Riverside into San Diego County, and what sort of impacts that will be having on the future of SANDAG decision-making for San Diego County. But this was a really good introduction. What I was worried about, what it may have lacked a bit was it described a certain transitory nature that Riverside County is right now. What are any sort of future ideas for Riverside? Is there a goal to be more of a professional center, job center in the future, more than just, retail sales help, servicing help jobs available? Will there be a future of more top-tier doctors wanting to move to the Riverside County area? UC Riverside can be considered a really great institution, I think. And what can grow around UC Riverside? So is it a future to, it sounds like you have a pretty good housing strategy that's very streamlined and efficient, that's of interest. So what is the future, if we can talk about any sorts of future projections of what Riverside County can be like in the future in relation to the real needs of addressing more freight and high-speed rail issues for the future of East County, for Riverside County into East San Diego? What's that relationship going to be about? That's important for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is allegedly Audra, who will be followed by Andrea Ebbing.
Dang it, Chris, you came all the way down here and ain't no one paying attention to you. I mean, Carolina, you're like, thank you for your time, but you were talking the entire time. So I don't know if you just can hear outside of that and you're paying attention. It's a little bit rude, but it would have been nice to have a printed version of the report. So I don't know if next time, if you come, you could share that with SANDAG staff to have them share that with the public so they can follow along. And it's just interesting the way, I mean, so if you're going to be coordinating, obviously cross-county coordination is important, but when you are implementing different things like a rail or something where it's going to be shared infrastructure, what's going to be done to make sure that both sides are keeping up with that, and then it's not leaving one that's going to have everything working great, and then say in San Diego, there's emergency repairs that need to be done. But you really probably should rethink when you're talking about birth rates. You guys know there's a depopulation agenda, and that, abortions, things like transgender affirming care, things like ripping families apart, things like just having, death jabs. There's so many things. But I mean, that's also why people said it was great that people are invading our nation, because then we can repopulate, right? Against the depopulation agenda. Like, you guys are funny. It's really funny to see how things work and how you try to pull wool over people's eyes. Like, we have a declining birth rate. Oh my gosh, well, it's intentional. You realize that's who it's working. So, I mean, I don't know what you're complaining about. Anywho, let's see what else. And people are leaving California in droves. People don't want to be enslaved into a 15-minute city. But hey, that's what you guys get paid to do, so good job. And there we go. All right.
Our next speaker is Andrea Ebbing, who will be followed by Marco Espinoza.
Okay, so I think the cross-county collaboration could really benefit San Diego because Riverside has astounding numbers in comparison to San Diego. I'm not sure if they have a $258 million budget deficit or if they've paid out $200 million in other pay to their employees, $60 million to county, $142 million to city employees, which is not pension, benefits, overtime, or bonus. But it's certainly there. And it looks like, according to accountability.gov, which is Gavin Newsom's supposed transparency site, but we know he's not transparent, is he? He's lost $24 billion with Todd Gloria. According to that site, housing developments between 2019 and 2023 in Riverside completed were 35,000 as compared to San Diego, which was 33,000. Homelessness, 0% increase in Riverside, 18.2%, which is probably really small in comparison to what it actually is in San Diego. This is the real one. This is the really important one that I think we should learn from Riverside County is there are 660 people enrolled in full service partnerships for behavioral health and addiction. as opposed to San Diego, which is 5,726 people. And the issue is only getting worse. So, you know, we really look at it, and we look at the kickbacks that are taking place and the amount of money that's funneling through this Medicaid issue, by comparison, we have the 8th highest paid city council members in the history of California right here in San Diego, averaging $400,000 a year per person salary. That's double Riverside. Riverside's doing something right, and I think we have a lot to learn from them. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Our final speaker on this item will be Marco Espinosa. You can go ahead.
Hello, thank you, Marco Espinosa. The conversation was about transportation, right? It's been a lot of things were said. And hopefully it is, and I'm tried. Anyways, I was thinking I'm all about rail. So, and there's only so much physical land to work with. So you have to either build up or build down. Finite resources, et cetera, et cetera. There was this really cool video actually I'd seen online from China. They put a subway through the middle of buildings. They used the infrastructure that was already there to serve the purpose of, you know, rail and get people around. So I was thinking, one of the thoughts that came up to mind was rail link between Humboldt Casino and wherever they want to go. Put it, because they'll pay for it. And it'll be free, because it'll go by their casino. Why not? Whatever. Rail, okay, like go underground. I know it's expensive. I know yes, I get it. But there's only so much land to work with. So unless we want to first build up high and then put that through the building, so anyway. But I mean, if there's land to work with, and like put it, but eventually, if we keep moving out and out and out to the suburbs and more land, which we have a lot. Like if you genuinely zoom out on Google Maps, any maps, like we still have so much land to work with here in California. Anyways, and you can always build higher and higher and higher. So if we got the airport moved from downtown to Miramar, well, then you don't have a 500-foot limit anymore here. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments on this item.
Well, again, before I open it to the member comments, I want to thank Chris so much for making the drive down to do this very important presentation with 28 plus years of experience in land use and transportation, 20 years in private sector and 8 years in public sector, and a lifelong resident of Riverside County. We appreciate all the information that you shared with us today. And I will now open it to any member comments. Katie Melendez, please.
Thank you, Chair.
County.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's great to have you here. You really illustrated for us some of the challenges that are faced between our regions here, very large area. And we see how these different regions, right, all the way through Orange County and other parts of California have had these persistent exclusionary zoning practices. And that high cost of housing has forced people into areas that have those job deficits that you were describing. And it's created the intense movement between our regions that we see now today. So this has become the normal for many families, but I'm not sure that it's ideal. You describe, 3-hour trips for some of the most basic opportunities, right? I really believe that housing and jobs and amenities should be available to all of our communities. And I really see it as the responsibility of our agency to connect people in a more sustainable way. So thank you for being here.
I would say that people come to Riverside County for a lot of reasons. Housing affordability is important, but there's other reasons as well. And they're coming for the amenities, they're coming for the opportunities. And when we've talked to a number of people who've been recent transplants, the housing cost of housing isn't the first thing they say. They will say things such as, I feel safe, I feel really safe here. This is a newer community. This is, I like the parks here. I like the trails here. So I think what you're saying, I just want to say what you're saying is it's absolutely true. We need to give people options, but in some case, for our residents, it's not just they're coming here because it's cheap.
Not at all. No, your community is beautiful and I love to visit as well. I just know that there is, the job deficiencies that you describe, and in San Diego, we have a housing shortage, right? So I really struggle with that. I appreciate you being able to provide the data for us. It's really important for us to see.
I did want to say that, our perspective is it's an all-in solution. The regions that don't have enough housing should be doing what they can to build more housing. The regions that don't have enough jobs should be doing what they can to bring more jobs to that region. We should be providing, bus, bike, transit options rail options for the people who don't, but we should also be making sure that the people who have to drive, it's available to them. And I think if we look at it as everyone needs to do their part, it gives all of us a job.
Thank you. Francesca, do we have Councilmember Colleen Wallace virtually raising her hand?
Yes, Chair, she would like to speak on this topic.
Go ahead.
And I want to say thank you, Chris. Woo, woo, because Riverside got it going on. And yes, I'm a big advocacy person on transportation, and I would really love to see rail, the trains going from Riverside County, San Diego, so people can get to their jobs and things. But thank you, Chris. And I'm on WR call for Riverside County. Woo, woo.
There's that energy I was missing. Any other member comments? Vice Chair.
Thank you again, Chris. It was fascinating to learn about the similarities and differences between our two regions. And it's not surprising that we have many things in common, and the way these patterns ebb and flow through different regions is fascinating to see. And I really appreciate all the data you brought with you. It, for me, at least, expanded my understanding of our connection. For me, again, what you said about all of us doing our part and recognizing that mobility between our communities is the freedom that everybody's asking for. I mean, if you make a choice to live somewhere else for whatever reason it is, mobility between our communities is what makes that still work. It's what makes families who move away from their grandkids be able to get back to their grandkids or pursue medical care here without losing an entire half of day in their car trying to do so. So I really appreciate it. And I look forward to working together.
And I do want to say for the record, I think we lose sight sometimes of how great the transportation system is, because I left my house at 10 and I got here a little bit after 11:30, and I had enough time to stop and have lunch. So if you travel outside of those peak hours, it works really well. But you could probably say that for most of Southern California as well.
And now we're going to hand it over to Steve Castañeda from San Diego County Water Authority.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. And thank you, Madam Chair. I have relatives that live in Riverside that, and what you said was exactly true. I mean, they obviously were, I think, attracted by the fact that they could buy a house twice the size of what they could in San Diego and have it new and have the pool and everything else. But, I over the years, I see the cost of how many hours they spend in the vehicle going back and forth to work. And but they make it work. They make it work. And many of them find work, in Riverside County. So they transition in. But like I said, you put some data behind just sort of what my thinking was. But speaking on behalf of CWA, with all that growth, if you need any water, just call us.
Well, that's why we have 2 water districts on our board. They continually remind us of that.
Any other member comments? Seeing none, I want to appreciate your time. We do have lunch that we can provide for you. Appreciate the long time it took you to get here, but it was a really important presentation. We share a floating population, but also an economic engine between us. And
And I did want to, again, thank Hector for reaching out to us. It's been a while since Deborah Cogg has been actively engaging with SANDAG, and we hope to be have more regular contact. And if it hadn't been for Hector picking up the phone and calling me, I wouldn't have been here today. So I just want to, again, thank Hector.
thank you so much for your time again, and feel free to come back anytime. We would love to have more of this information in this committee. And now we are going to continue to item number 5. And now I'd like to introduce someone very important to the region and also a dear friend, Marisa Marin, from Customs and Border Protection, who is the first woman to serve as port director of the San Isidro Port of Entry, the busiest and most transited border in the world. She also has worked previously in Long Beach, Otay Mesa. She oversees the San Diego Airport, Cross Border Express, and I will let her talk about what represents everything that she represents. And it's such an honor for you to take the time and come talk to us. Thank you for being here. You need to pull it closer to you.
All right, are we picking up?
Yes.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and Madam Chair, thank you for such a great introduction. I am Marisa Marin. I am the Port Director for San Isidro Port of Entry, and as Carolina Chavez mentioned, San Diego Airport Seaport and the Cross Border Express. I'm very happy to be here and be a part of Borders. You know, San Isidro is a vital pipeline, and with so much comments and rhetoric regarding the border and the region, right? We're so much more than just a line in the sand and enforcement, right? We, San Diego and Tijuana, are really a mega region for all of us. And commerce, family, cultural ties are huge, right? And so I fully recognize that and want to be a part of conversations like this where we can improve really the overall perception of CBP in the community, but also just the border in general, right? San Diego, Tijuana is a huge ecosystem, and I think that San Isidro and really the land border in general can serve as a big nucleus to that with, you know, huge leaders in industry and commerce. And then again, that cross-border travel that we see every day. Over 20% of persons that enter the United States every day, over 20% will enter through a port of entry here in San Diego. That's a huge statistic for us, right? And to understand that more fully, if you were to take JFK, LAX, and Atlanta, some of our busiest airports combined in a day, they wouldn't reach half of the number of people we see here in San Diego. San Diego writ large, just San Isidro, about 100,000 travelers a day. The region as a whole, which is the San Diego field office, which really transcends from the water here at the seaport all the way to the Arizona border. That's the 5 land borders and then air and sea that make up the San Diego field office. We're talking about 220,000 travelers each day coming into our country. That's coming in north from Mexico. So it's a huge region for commerce. And I say that to say that comes with a myriad of threats, but a myriad of benefits, right? We get to see wholeheartedly the culture, the humanity that exists in both regions, and again, that important economic flow. So I say that to say, you know, we've got a ton of statistics that we can always show, right, to talk about San Isidro. I think one of the more profound that we don't dig into, right, is the number of lives that are saved at the border. And so when we think about the 200 dosages of Narcan that we will go through in a month, the number of babies being delivered. And this is not just a migration issue. This is U.S. citizens, U.S. permanent residents that, because of cost of living in San Diego, live in Tijuana and make the commute every morning to come to work here to come shop here. Their children go to school here. So it's a very important region, and I'm happy to and privileged to be a part of these discussions to really highlight the importance of the region, but also to hear any concerns and try to address those. When we talk about the number of apprehensions at the border, right, and so looking beyond that ecosystem part, right, I'd be remiss if we didn't address the number of statistics that we see here in San Diego writ large, and the work that the officers do. So when we talk about fraudulent documents coming into the country, so folks that are not U.S. citizens that are presenting fraud, over 70% of those apprehensions happen here in San Diego. Narcotics of the what we call hard narcotics, so just about everything except for marijuana being seized, CBP nationwide, over 60% is coming through San Diego. Oh. That was my hype video, but we'll get to it later.
Please continue. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. But I say that to say we see quite a bit of threats, but we also see quite a bit of benefits in a border community. So, you know, regardless of what the media portrays, we're a very important part of not just securing the nation, but also promoting commerce, economy, and really unity within our communities. I was born and raised in San Diego. I have family and friends that cross the border every day. I cross the border at times. Not as often as I'd like, right? But that being said, it's a very important community. It's very important for me and leaders like me, Rosa Hernandez, who's the port director at Otay Mesa, and then Rock Kaza, who is the port director out in the Imperial Valley. But it's very important for us to hear any concerns, any challenges, any ideas from the public, so that we can improve the border crossing experience, but also become more efficient and better partners for the community. So with that, I'll kind of pause and see if there are any questions or comments.
I think we should see your video.
All right, why not?
I like the music, that's why. Let's see. It's a great video.
Oh, thank you. So the slide here kind of will touch on some of those stats that we talked about. Again, this is field office wide, not specific to San Ysidro, but all of these numbers and the percentages you see are in comparison to CBP arrests and interdictions across the nation. But important to note, right, that kind of top line is travelers. 18% of total travelers coming into the U.S., and this is just this FY. We will see that turn into about 22% come summer, which is peak travel for us here on the southern border. But you know, when you think about the total number of vehicles inspected, right? 1/3 of all vehicles that enter the United States through a land border will come through San Diego. And so when we think about the importance to commerce and the economy and just cross-border flow, every border crosser creates 30 jobs on either side of the border. And that is regardless of their citizenship, of their legal status in the United States, but every single one. And that's not just a CBP job, a law enforcement job. That's trade, that's travel, that's commerce, that's hotels, that's chefs. And so it's very important for us to understand that, to be efficient, while, you know, protecting the nation and security is our most important mission. Security includes both agriculture and economic prosperity as well. So I thank you guys for having the opportunity to speak here. I look to start to come more regularly. I think Carolina kind of mentioned, oh, I have borders this week. And I was like, what's borders? I'm borders. So thank you for the invite, and happy to attend more frequently. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And before I open it up to the board member comments, Francesca, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chair. We do. We'll start with Truth and then go to Blair Beekman.
I'm going to give a reality check first. Expatriates living in Mexico are not Americans by choice. We can reasonably plan for them, but we cannot build for them and fund their existence. If they don't like it, they can move back. Expatriate or binational is not a special supremacist status. Now, with that said, over 13 million cars and 629,000 commercial trucks is a ton of pollution. Maybe in order to protect the environment and restore air quality, the country should limit crossings to only those coming by foot, especially if they're cars coming from Mexico that are not built and tested to California standards. Perhaps California should be doing smog checks on every car crossing the border. Maybe SANDAG for the OME crossing could actually have requirements. And what is the projection for the OME crossing? How many more millions of vehicles and commercial trucks will be polluting the already toxic air? Perhaps Zeldin would be interested in that projection. And this is just one cross-border flow, because with the extra traffic, we know is going to cause more sewage with extra development until Mexico finally starts living in reality. They have to catch up. They can't keep making excuses like they do decade after decade. That's going to have to stop. And you said 312 fraudulent documents. One can find thousands upon thousands along the border wall. It's another form of pollution, cross-border pollution. The most interesting stat is that there's been more meth and cocaine seized by CBP than fentanyl. Fentanyl is definitely the worst drug ever created by an alphabet agency, but politicians, media have been pretty silent about the meth. The 2.3 million agriculture inspections, I believe this number is going to drop as Mexico loses its preferential free trade fascism status it's been enjoying decades without accountability for the nefarious activities, everything from cartel violence to their toxic sewage entering our country. And it's easy to say it's all regular people coming through, but it's obviously not when there's drugs, fraudulent documents, warrants, or criminal arrest happening. The only positive is that inspections at ports like we're supposed to have versus open border, you get no inspections. You just get a free-for-all. So thank you for your hard work.
Our next speaker will be Blair Beekman, followed by allegedly Audra.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I first moved to San Diego in 2022, and the reason why I'm working with tech accountability, and I wanted to be here in San Diego to understand what that would mean internationally. So along with tech accountability for our local communities and what's possible, the participatory process that's possible, I'm really interested how tech accountability can be applied at our border. And so it's really nice to meet a person who works much at the border, and she sounds like she could be a really good liaison to attend SANDAG meetings and just offer reports. And it's nice to meet you. Thank you. I don't do enough work. I wish I could, that I really could work in depth on these things. I don't, but I have a real important goal in my mind that tech accountability at the border is learning how we better talk about our toll issues and the surveillance tech that's needed. And when we do that, that builds relationships, between nations. And I think that we can be in agreement on what best practices can be, and sharing those conversations between ourselves and Mexico, I think can help facilitate just a series of better conversations overall. Now, how to bring the community into all of that and the participatory process into all the technology used at the border, that's, I think, kind of a new subject. We can do it here at the local level. How can we do it possibly at the international border level? And what would that entail? What would that mean? I'm not quite sure, but I'm hopeful in what that can mean to develop relationships and, really good practices of democracy to show, and share why we do this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is allegedly Audra, followed by Andrea Ebbing.
rhetoric at the border or guarding the border. Talk about rhetoric. Yeah, it's interesting because you guys, when people would be there filming the smuggling, the human smuggling that was happening at the San Ysidro port of entry, you guys were telling the people not to film there. It's interesting. And there's even a sign that says you can film there. All of Jewish Family Services is engaged in their whole human trafficking operation. And that's what's so funny. You guys talk about commerce, right, with Mexico. I mean, talk about human trafficking. That's a huge business. Of course, you got to keep that going. I mean, right? You can sell a human over and over, like the drugs. It's kind of a waste of time because, like, a human, you could just, I mean, imagine like a kid could be raped, 100 times a day. It's kind of what's happening. It's crazy. But at least people are getting paid for it, right? And we're keeping the border open. That's good. And then it's interesting because it's like, I mean, I feel like America is Mexico's bitch. Feels like it. I mean, it's like if my neighbor, was like constantly shooting on my lawn or just came in my house and was taking dumps, and I'm like, I'm not going to do anything about that. I really like them and I want them to like me. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm just going to let it happen, or like, just have my neighbor bring in children to my house and drop them off all the time. And why would I question that? I might as well just go along with it. I mean, because that would mean that you're in control, right? Or does it mean you're a bitch? So it's like, we're just like bending over backwards to allow Mexico to do all of these things. I mean, America's corrupt as hell too, but it's just interesting to see how like ridiculous it is that nobody is willing to go like, stop doing that. It's like, no, we need to have commerce. It's so important. We really need to have the border open. We need to have, all of this stuff come in, but it doesn't matter if Mexico's cars are totally toxic to our environment, right? Let's charge the American people for their toxicity. It's so ridiculous, the things that go on, and it just shows what little bitches everyone is.
Our next speaker will be Andrea Ebbing, followed by Catherine Rhodes.
Okay, so I wanted to mention three names. Hector Hernandez, Ferris Almonte, and Ricardo Rodriguez are individuals we trusted to protect our border, and they were taking bribes to allow human trafficking and drug smuggling to and from Mexico, San Diego, vice versa. So corruption is a major passion point of mine, and exposing it is my duty, and the burden of knowledge has nearly killed me. I just recovered from a ruptured brain aneurysm on March 28th. So I'm happy to be standing here sharing this information right now. And as a result of the corruption that I've seen in the depths of mortar that I've been forced to go to, I did find some of the Border Patrol agents that I didn't mention here that were paying into PACs that were paid to Summer Steffen, our district attorney, like several other defendants, like Leo Hamill avoided jail time for $80,000 in payments. And as a result of the corruption that I've seen, not just affecting us, I really feel as though Tijuana is a target. And unfortunately, we are allowing things to go down there as well. So it's affecting Mexicans as well. A lot of my outreach has recently been to the White House and to the federal government, ICE, FBI, DOJ, DEA, and they're taking notice. So there's an investigation on all transactions at money exchange places over $200. There's an investigation on the use of homeless funds. They pulled $40 million from the CDC very recently, but we also got $150 million for everyone here to work with for the FHWA, and I think they'll be watching that spend as well. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Catherine Rhodes, and Catherine will be followed by Marco Espinoza, who'll be our final speaker on this item.
Hello, Catherine Rhodes. As a civil engineer, back in the day, I did a little work on the San Ysidro Port of Entry expansion that created many new lanes and gates for cars to cross over. But whenever I've come back from Tijuana, there's huge long lines, and most of the new lanes and gates are closed, which create unnecessary air pollution and increased travel time. What good are new expansion gates at the San Ysidro Port of Entry when many of the gates are closed and unused? Then I found out the reason that the gates are closed and there's long lines is the lack of U.S. Custom and Border Patrol agents to actually man the stations. And that's going to be a problem also for your Otay Mesa East port of entry also. I don't believe it's going to be, open all the time. So as part of the upcoming 2026 update to the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, it would be great if the whole region would get together of SANDAG and ask for additional Custom and Border Patrol agents be hired so we could man all the gates when we need it. And not just for San Ysidro, but for all the other ports of entry. To the east, there's a lot of port of entries, including, I believe, in Imperial Valley, that are not open 24/7. And some people who cross the border have to wait, till 6 in the morning or something before they can come over. And so I think that's kind of a waste. So more federal agents would lower Border Patrol wait times, which would result in less pollution for both Tijuana and San Diego. Before the military started guarding our border through President Trump, everybody would say that we needed more money to come into the area. Then we could actually have a closed
Your
border.
time has expired.
Thank you.
Our final speaker will be Marco Espinoza.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. It's wonderful to see. I've never had the opportunity to speak to someone other than when crossing the border, for someone who works in the area. So it's nice to see you here. When I do cross, it's typically always been a car, but nowadays it's walking across. Agents have always been fair, fine, reasonable, but I didn't give them any problems. They didn't give me any problems. Actually, there was the one that gave me a problem a couple of years ago, but it's fine. I handled it. All right. I would love it if the beach could be open. You know what I'm talking about, California State Park. That would be, I would love that. I haven't been there since I was a child. My grandfather took me actually. I grew up here. So I'm happy to hear that San Diego native is helping protect San Diego. I thank you. What else? Just very important. I hope to see more continued collaboration. Oh, here we go. I remember when I was active duty Air Force, I had met a girl who was from city New York. And when we looked up her hometown, as it's zooming in, it almost looked, I mean, her little pin looks like she's in Canada. And then it ends up being on the New York side of the border. But her driver's license, her ID could also serve as a passport to go to Canada. Only Canada. And I was like, oh, that's great. I love that idea. I wish my California ID could do something, That's something. I don't know where that goes, but I think something. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you, Francesca. And first, I want to say that I want to thank Port Director Marin again for taking the time. This is the first time in a very, very long time that we have the privilege to listen to a port director in this committee. And I just want to personally say that let's be mindful that the Blue Line, 24.4 million in this fiscal year, this past fiscal year, of transportation, of people that we're moving. And we are a region that produces. We produce $60 billion in international trade. We share a population. I used to work for the city of San Diego. And when we closed the border, because we had a huge issue of migration and COVID, and we had many issues that were going on, and that we had no tourism come from that side of the border to downtown and to all the northbound, all the businesses over here, we were hurting and we were losing millions. So we are a region, we are not an island. And we have to be mindful that we need coordination with all levels of government on both sides of the border. And I have to give respect where respect is of merit. And we've never had this level of coordination. I've been doing this for 22 years, international trade and economic development. And Board Director Marin has been always very transparent, very accessible, and has just been a great leader for this region. And I want to thank you. Before I pass it over to open it up to our board members, I want to thank you for being here, for your presence, and for being mindful that we need to work together and that these participations are crucial to our economy, our just humanity, and our growing, ever-growing workforce that we can't house. So I'll open it up. East County, Councilmember Steve Goebel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for coming and presenting to us today. My comments and my questions really are couched in transportation to make the nexus there. Are you finding the same challenges as other law enforcement agencies in attracting human resources to become agents? Is it a matter of budget? Is it a matter of interest? Are you finding the same challenges?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge specifically to San Diego, right, is cost of living. And so many of these officers and agents on the Border Patrol side are being hired at pretty low salaries to start, right? And so it's tough for them, if they're not from the area, to find housing commensurate to their pay. That increases, right, as time goes on and they get tenured, but we do see some challenges there in recruitment. And then, you know, the time it takes sometimes, right, to pursue a job at this level with background and physical fitness testing and medical and everything that goes into that, right, can sometimes play as a deterrent against mass hiring. But we do pretty well initially, and then, you know, I think the focus now for us is to try to hire folks that are from the area, from the local area, because they're already accustomed. Right? They already have something established in San Diego. Most are, you know, younger adults that still live with parents, so they can kind of afford that move until such a point where their salary is commensurate with being able to afford cost of living here in San Diego.
Makes sense. Thank you. My second question is, have you seen a change in northbound freight as a result of the discussion around tariffs?
So I don't think we've seen it yet. I don't have a cargo facility at San Isidro, and so I'd be remiss not to mention Rosa Hernandez, who's the port director at Otay Mesa, where most of our cargo comes in, and then we've got cargo at Tecate, port of entry, and then Calexico. But Otay Mesa sees the bulk of cargo, but we have not seen a decrease. We average, about 4,000 containers a day at Otay Mesa. So we've yet to see the decrease yet. I'll say that, you know, come May, that may change, but right now we haven't seen it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other board member comment? Go ahead, Jose Marquez, Caltrans, District 11.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very informative. A lot of our transportation agencies, they're focused on promoting active transportation, like bicycles and pedestrians facilities. As someone who works for the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection, would you rather have more people that cross the border on foot or in their cars?
So I don't know that it makes a difference, like specifically for, not just for me, but for the agency writ large, right? I think that our mission is to inspect and protect, right? And
Yeah.
so regardless if that flow is in a vehicle environment or pedestrian environment, not much changes, right? Because we're inspecting each individual. Cars, right, obviously pose a different threat, but we do see narcotics and smuggling in a pedestrian environment as well. So I can't say that there's a risk to one or the other, or that there's a benefit to one over the other. But, you know, I think we've seen a decrease in vehicular traffic and an increase in pedestrian. But that does have an impact, right? Most pedestrian travelers are going to use public transportation. And so, as Madam Chair mentioned, right, the blue line, you know, it starts in San Isidro and it is a busy line. And if I'm being honest, a lot of my officers use the blue line to come to work. And so, you know, as that shifts, I think that we will start to see the need to really improve more transportation infrastructure if we continue to see an increase in pedestrian volume versus vehicle.
Yeah, sometimes I just think is, I mean, there's more room to smuggle things on a car than as a pedestrian. So
They can fit, believe it or not, they can fit quite a bit of
Yeah,
narcotics
okay,
on their
yeah.
bodies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director Marine. This is very nice to meet you, and I appreciate the informative presentation. Obviously, something you share a lot of passion for your job, and it comes through in the way you speak about it. So, thank you. Given the critical nature of moving folks back and forth across the border, and in light of the travel warnings that other countries have issued to our country and to their residents for traveling to our country, and broad concerns about due process and other legal concerns with folks, are we seeing any downward trends in tourism, recreational tourism? I know it's been kind of recent, so maybe you wouldn't see that.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the impact yet. I don't know if we're going to see one. We are on track to exceed last year's travel numbers by about 5%, which is consistent year over year. So we haven't seen a downward trend yet. Not saying that it can't happen, but we are pretty close to where we were last year as far as numbers and percentage of travelers in comparison to last fiscal year. We're entering the last 2 quarters of the year, right? The last half of the year. And peak travel hasn't hit yet, right? So typical peak travel, last week being an anomaly, right? Semana Santa, Holy Week is always a busy travel week at any border or airport. So we saw an increase there. I think Friday was our biggest with 112,000 travelers here at San Isidro. And then multiply, you know, kind of that, I think it was an 18% increase across the San Diego field office. But that being said, typical peak travel for us will start on Memorial Day and then end at Labor Day. So we will see an increase in traffic volumes, and we'll keep an eye on those wait times. I'm very cognizant of them and trying to find ways to really alleviate those. And so hopefully there's a little bit of a difference in wait times since I've been around, but I continue to find ways to be more efficient there as well.
Thank you.
Any other board member comment? Again, I want to thank you for taking the time. We are such a unique region in the nation that any policy that we create cannot compare with what we live on this part of Southern California. And you have, like I mentioned, the most transited border in the world. But again, like we mentioned, we have a lot of people that spend their money here, that work here, that can afford to live here, U.S. citizens, retired. Just in general, we share a floating population. And when we need to think about solutions, we need to think about holistic solutions, not as an island, but as a region. And I really, really appreciate your time and your dedication, you and your team, and the openness to be joining and answering our questions. Thank you so, so much. And we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invite, and hope to come back to another, but otherwise, please feel free to reach out and we're here to help.
Thank you so much. Okay. With that, we are adjourning this meeting, and the next Borders Committee meeting is scheduled for Friday, May 23rd, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. With this, we conclude and adjourn our meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and
See you next time. Bye-bye.